Have a public hearing before our regular board meeting that won't take too long, I hope. So, Town Clerk Greer, would you please take roll call?
Sure. Michael Ferrara.
Here.
Frank Seneca.
President.
Steve Churchill.
Here.
John Dyson. Here. Caitlin Laskowski. Present. Okay, we have a forum.
Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? And I'd also like you to join me tonight in a moment of silence. One of our town employees who retired in January, Donovan Stillwell, passed away this morning. So I'd ask you to join me in a moment of silence at that point as well. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Don't take anything for granted.
So, as I said, we have start us off with a public hearing for a local law on a lot line adjustment. This, again, has been going on for 3 years as far as zoning changes in our town to bring us into the 21st century, to make us more business friendly, and to make people's lives easier. This lot line adjustment comes out of our committee that meets on a monthly basis, and so we're at that point. So can I have a motion to open the public hearing, please?
I make the motion.
Second.
Thank you. At this time, would anybody like to come to the podium and comment on the proposed local law for lot line adjustment? And before you do that, Attorney Morrell will kind of give you a little bit of background.
Okay.
The Reader's Digest version.
Reader's Digest version always. So right now, our subdivision code requires subdivision review for any change of lot lines, creating new lots, even when there's just a situation where maybe you have two neighbors want to straighten their lot line or want to swap some land so their shed is now not too close to the line, or things like that. So as part of our review of our codes, we saw this as an opportunity of where maybe we can simplify things a little bit to take these situations where you have the lot lines moving but not creating any new lots, simply adding land to one side or the other or both, that we could do that administratively as long as it meets up with the requirements, mostly not creating any new lots is the main one. So if that's the case, this can be done, there'll still be a full application. You will still need a surveyor's map stamped, and that would then be recorded at the county clerk's office, and that's a requirement of the county clerk and New York State law. But we can do this here at our, the zoning officer would be authorized to approve these things without the requirement of a meeting with the planning board and a public hearing and notice for that public hearing, all of which takes about a month, if not more than that. So we're trying to streamline things, make it simpler for people who simply want to move the lot lines a bit, maybe make things a little bit easier for themselves and the neighbors, and kind of streamline things a little bit here. So that's what it's. So the local law takes the form of a amendment to our existing subdivision law. So that's what this is, and we do have for the board. We do have a seeker review is required, and we conduct that this evening, and then take action on this later on in the meeting. If anybody has any questions or would like to address the board in relation to this, this would be that time.
Thanks, yeah. Anybody want to speak at the public hearing? Okay, have a motion to close the public hearing, please?
I make the motion.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Town clerk, please, we're going to start the regular meeting order. We won't do the pledge again, but I do need to take roll call for the official record.
Mike Farrar,
Here.
Frank Seneca,
Here.
Steve Churchill,
Here.
Don Dyson. Here. Caitlin Liscowski. Yes.
Thank you.
Have one more.
So before we get started into the actual agenda, there's a lot of, the best part of my job is being able to do things that recognize people in our community. And tonight I have two of those recognitions, actually three, but I'm going to start off with the first one. I have a proclamation here from the town of Seneca Falls, and it's honoring retired U.S. veteran specialist Richard C. Lottie for his long-standing love, service, and support of Seneca Falls and her citizens on his 90th birthday. Dick, would you please come forward for a second while I read this?
Maybe use the chair.
Absolutely. I made the chair myself, and the cane.
All right.
He's got his own
We're playing golf at what time on Saturday? 9:30. So we had this proclamation done, and I want to just, before I go any further, recognize my confidential secretary, Melissa Howe, who is the brains behind the operation. So Melissa, thank you. But anyway, Dick's birthday was yesterday, and his daughter Kyle and family and son Brian had to get together at Dick's house on Saturday. So I presented Dick with a proclamation on Saturday, but I want to present it to him in public. So bear with me, please. I'll try to do a better job than I did on Saturday. Whereas the village of Seneca Falls welcomed the birth of Richard Dick Lottie to parents Christian and Mary Fitzsimmons on April 10, 1933. And whereas the Lotties raised their 4 children in Seneca Falls and saw Dick attend St. Patrick's Catholic School and later graduate from Miners Academy, class of 1951. And whereas soon after graduation, Dick enlisted in the United States Army to serve in the Korean War, where he was stationed at Fort Devens, Massachusetts, then transferring to the 82nd Airborne briefly, before serving the remainder of his career with the 328th Communications Reconnaissance Company in Germany. And whereas upon his discharge from service, he was gainfully employed at Moose Pumps Manufacturing for 47 years. And whereas his love of golf began as a young boy, often hitchhiking to the Seneca Falls Country Club to fulfill his position as a caddy, and since 1951, Dick has been a dedicated member of the club for 72 years and has served as financial advisor for the past 53 years and having served as president for a time. And whereas a community member, Dick has always enjoyed helping people and giving back to the community, which has embraced him for 90 years. And over the many decades, he has volunteered his time for such organizations as the former Village of Seneca Falls Events, Bridgeport Fire Commission, Seneca County Volunteer, Income Tax Assistance Program, Special Olympics New York's United Way, and whereas Dick further served as a founding board member of the Seneca Museum of Waterways and Industry in the 150th anniversary celebration of the Seneca Falls Women's Rights Convention of 1848. He also was a board member of the Seneca Falls Historical Society, Boy Scout Council, financial advisor, Creative Choices Child Care Center, and treasurer, Family Council of the Finger Lakes, and whereas the committee around Dick has expressed their appreciation for his support over the years, having honored him with several awards, including United Way's Volunteer of the Year in 2006, George Bailey Award in 2012, and New York State Senate Resolution in 2012 as well. And whereas, in recognition of his honorable and selfless service to our country, Dick was appointed to the New York State Veterans Hall of Fame in 2020 by New York State Senator Pamela Helmling, 54th District. And whereas Dick is a fan of the film It's a Wonderful Life, which shares a heartfelt message conveyed, which could be a call tag for Dick's life. The little things we do make a big difference in how wonderful a life he has led. Now, therefore, I, Michael J. Farrar, Town Supervisor of the Town of Seneca Falls, New York, on behalf of the Town Board, do honor Richard C. Lottie for his long-standing service to Seneca Falls and its citizens, and hereby proclaim April 10th as Richard C. Dick Lottie Day in the Town of Seneca Falls, and encourage all citizens to observe this day by giving back to their community through volunteering and engaging civic action that has limitless possibilities to transform an entire community. Signed, Michael J. Farrar. Dick. Not only is Dick a great member of the community, I'm proud to be his friend. April is National Volunteer Month, and what better way to recognize a volunteer than with this proclamation. You got any words of wisdom for everybody?
I just remember everyone, remember others, and do what you can. It may be small, but it'll help. I mean, it's important to help your friends and your neighbors. Menzel can vouch for that, just the little things that you do. I want to thank you all, and thank the board.
Thank you, Dick.
And Mike for all this, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
In the same spirit of Dick Lottie, our community lost about 5 weeks ago a member of our community. So I'd like to recognize that person who was a lifelong employee of the village of Seneca Falls. In remembrance of a lifelong community resident and United States veteran, Laverne C. Vern Laffler. Today we remember lifelong resident and veteran of the United States Marine Corps, Laverne C. Laffler, who passed away on March 13th at the young age of 90. Vern, as he was known among friends and family, was born in Wayland, New York, in Steuben County, and moved to Seneca Falls as a young man, where he grew up and later graduated from Miners Academy. A few years later, Vern enlisted in the Marine Corps and served 4 years, then retired in the rank of sergeant. He returned to Seneca Falls to begin the next chapter in his life as husband to Elaine and as father to their 5 children. Vern enjoyed farming, gardening, hunting, spending time with his family, and giving back to the community of Seneca Falls, which he finally referred to as his home. His contributions include his employment with the former village of Seneca Falls as superintendent of water department. Vern was a friendly and humble man who always wore a smile. We embrace the Laffler family as we remember our friend and former village employee, Vern Laffler, for making immeasurable contributions to our community and for being an honorable neighbor, husband, father, and veteran. We carry your smile in our hearts. So Vern, thank you very much, and the Laffler family. I'm sure most of you know, or knew, I should say, knew Vern. Never saw the man without a smile on his face. Never. No matter where you saw him, when you saw him, never did. Okay, finally, holy moly. This was supposed to be a dedication back in November of 2022. And then, I don't know what happened, we'll call it COVID related. And got delayed, and then we finally got it. And then we didn't like the way it was because there were some scratches on it. So we sent it back, and I wrote a nasty note. But anyway, we got it. So, Chief, would you come on up for me, please? Last but not least. Now that was worth it, wasn't it? Honoring 25 years of dedicated public service with great honor and recognition, Chief of the Police, Stuart W. Peenstra. We thank you for the 25 years you gave the Seneca Falls Police Department and to the state of New York. Your tireless work ethic and professionalism has set the tone for the rest of the department. We humbly thank you for the example you have set, the standard you upheld. You are truly New York's finest. Your legacy will live on through those you have mentored. You will always have a home here. Patrol Lieutenant 814, Patrol Sergeant 807, Chief of Police 801. Badge number, congratulations on your retirement 1998 to 2023. And here's the plaque, and it has Chief's badge number. And over here. Congratulations and thank you. You can say a few words.
Well, I'd just like to thank everybody in the community. This was my first full-time job as a police officer that I took on, and nobody knew who I was. I was a kid from out of town. Not too many people got hired here in Seneca Falls that didn't live here, were born and raised here. And I came in and the community welcomed me with open arms. And it was a good fit for me. I loved every minute of working here. I felt like at times that I loved this community more than some people that did live here once I moved away. So I took a lot of pride in the community, and a lot of pride in the people, and a lot of pride in my officers that helped me out. I want to thank Tim and the rest of the crew here that supported me throughout my career, and the rest of the community that welcomed me in as one of their own. So, and all the board, most of the board that, this board was great. But,
Some boards not so much. All right.
just read the papers. No, it was all good, and I loved every minute of it, and I wouldn't give it up for nothing. So, thank you very much.
Chief, go home. Kyle, take you at home.
I'll see you next month.
When you guys come back, cream and sugar in my coffee. Okay, before we get into our petitioners and the regular agenda, there's just some announcements I'd like to make. First and foremost, I know the devastation that many of you people in the room felt last week. I wish I could wave the magic wand and make it go away. We can't do that, okay? Used to be when you got 4 inches of rain in a very short period of time, that was a generational type of an event. It doesn't happen that way anymore. It happens yearly, okay? Whatever anybody wants to believe about climate change, tell them to go pack salt. Okay? With that, it's not an easy fix, okay? Like every other older community, our system, our infrastructure is 100 years old. We have a lot of compromised situations where storm sewers go into sewer lines. Back in the day when they built houses, like my house, they connected the storm sewer to the sewer line because it was easy, okay? So now you have probably 60 to 70% of our town with an illegal hookup, okay? Many of our businesses downtown, many of our factories are basically compromising our sewer system, okay? For example, on an average day, our waste treatment plant treats about 1.2 million gallons of sewage a day. During this event, it left the charts. We can't measure it after it gets past 10 million gallons. Okay? So that doesn't even count the amount of water that we had to relieve from different areas, so forth. Okay? So do we like what's happening? No. Okay? Does any of us like having to pump raw sewage into the canal? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And we follow DEC recommendations and processes, and we do it. Okay? There is a plan. Okay? We keep talking about an equalization tank that will help the situation. Okay? It's not going to alleviate it. Okay? The only way to alleviate the situation is that if we went from house to house, business to business, and force people to fix their problems and not overbear the system. Okay? That's somebody from the town knocking on your door saying, well, you got to spend about $10,000 to dig up your lawn, put drainage around your lawn, add a sub pump to your lawn or your basement, and disconnect your storm sewer from your sanitary line. Okay? So, and the other problem is there's not a lot of grant money that is provided for drainage. Okay? This board and previous boards have worked tirelessly securing grants to save taxpayers money. Okay? Over $5 million in grants, but most of those are centered towards water treatment or wastewater treatment. They're not centered towards drainage because there's not a lot of money out there. Okay? So I'm not trying to downplay your own personal situation, my personal situation, because I have the same problem. We are going to continue to work on it. Okay? There are some hot spots in the town that I think we can come up with some short-term remedies. We're continuing to work with engineers. We're continuing to work with the highway department, the water sewer department, to clean out storm sewer drains and sewer lines. Camera, we have the ability camera. This board invested in a camera. This board invested in a shock vac, and we've been working on that. Okay, so we will try to continue to clean out, camera, identify compromised areas. Okay, some of you are receiving more water than you normally do because in some parts of town, the separation from storm lines and sewer lines have been fixed. So now, where all the water used to go into the sewer line, it's not going there anymore in certain parts of the town. Okay? And that means more water is created in the actual sewer, or the storm, water storage line. So, we're not, nobody here likes it, trust me. And so my heart and sympathy goes out to everyone who experiences this problem. But I got to tell you, with an event like that, you could have the most modern day system in the world, and it's not going to happen. That said, and I know some of you are upset with your new assessment. Okay? Again, the re-eval is to bring the town of Seneca Falls residences and businesses at 100% valuation. And that was the goal, that was what's achieved. There was a process in place. If people didn't agree, then there was a process in play, and there's still a process in play where you could grieve your assessment, okay? And hopefully everybody knows that information, but if you still don't know how to do that, it was in the mail with all the letters. If you still don't know how to do that, please don't hesitate to call my office, and we will walk you through on how to make an appointment and so forth and so on, okay? I've been having some conversations with Seneca Falls School District because that's the first entity who will be issuing tax bills in September that this will go into effect for, okay? So in talking with them, they estimated that without the re-eval, the total valuation would have been down to 66%, okay, not 100%. But last year was at 77%, they estimated it would have been 66%, okay? They are projecting, if that was the case, the tax rate would have been $33 per thousand, okay? They are now projecting that the tax rate will be $26.78. So your assessment has gone up, but the tax rate is going to come down. Does that mean everybody's going to pay less in taxes? No. Does that mean some people will? Yes. Does that mean some people will pay more? Yes. The whole idea behind the evaluation was make it fair across the board. Everyone pays their fair share. No one likes to pay property taxes. Nobody. Okay? But the ideal is to pay your fair share. The tax rate for the town of Seneca Falls last year was $10.11. That tax rate will be down come January of 2023. Okay? It'll be the same.
2024.
Pardon me?
2024.
2024, thank you. Yeah. Okay? So again, I know people were upset. I'm hoping you played it out. I'm hoping you took that opportunity to, claim your case, bring them pictures, et cetera, et cetera. If anybody thinks that my assessment went down or anybody on the board's assessment went down, that didn't happen. Okay? Mine went up $55,000. Okay? I live on Seneca Lane, part of the oldest part of town, any place. Okay? Would I sell my house for $180,000? Nope, I would not. And that's what's assessed for, $180,000. I'm not selling it for anything close to that. Okay? But I understand people's angst, and I'm hoping it plays out. Okay, I have a couple other announcements, but I don't want to keep Menzo here any longer than he has to be here. So Menzo is here to talk to us about a program that is being facilitated through Generations Bank and his communications public. I don't know, what is this title?
Community organizer.
Community organizer.
I'm not really sure.
Rick Newman is here with them from Generations Bank also. So I don't know, you have the podium.
All right, thank you. Supervisor Mike. All right. Menzo Case, I'm the president and CEO of Generations Bank. It's good to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity to address the council. I wanted to, I was sitting back and talking to our marketeers at the bank, and I never presented this to the council, so I thought, well, we better do this, and just so you're aware and fully informed, and it's pretty straightforward, but I wanted to walk you through this. Thank you so much for having me tonight. We're introducing tonight the Seneca Falls Women's Walk of Fame. We're sponsored by Generations Bank and the Women's Right to Run 19K. We see the Women's Walk of Fame well suited for Seneca Falls, the birthplace of women's rights, and another unique attraction for our town. The first installment of the walk are 10 bronze cast plaques, such as the one pictured in the handout that Rick has provided. I do have a sample, the first plaque. I'm not supposed to do it, but I think I could do this. So this is Lucretia Mott's plaque that would be placed in our Bell Park over by our headquarters, and we're going to place the other ones throughout the downtown Seneca Falls area. These women that were selected, we polled some women-owned and women-led businesses and organizations in downtown Seneca Falls to help us select women to be honored in the walk. We'll be holding a groundbreaking event at our Bell Park outside our headquarters with this installment of Lucretia Mott, a fitting tribute to the chair of the first Women's Rights Convention held here in Seneca Falls, 1848. We will also showcase the remaining plaques of those that will be honored and placed throughout outside those businesses that helped us select the individuals. And we are working on the material regarding each of the women being honored so that individuals that view the plaques can access information about each woman's contribution to our society. Our hope is that this will be the first installment and many more to follow in years to come. And we're always looking for additional sponsors. We don't want to go about this alone, and this is just the first step. So there you have it, and we just wanted to give you a heads up. Yes, sir.
So Menzo, if a business or a community member could continue on with the walk of Women's Hall of Fame walk too?
Oh, absolutely. We'd love to help coordinate the effort. National Women's Hall of Fame, the historic park, the museum, the Waterways Museum. We would like to get them involved as well, and we had discussions with most of them, and they're interested. So I'm going to put that on Rick, our community organizer, and he can help form a committee and do the best that we can as a group to honor women that have done so much for our country.
Great.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Menzo, what was the date that you're going to do the first dedication of where the bells are?
Friday, May 12th.
Friday, May 12th, apparently.
May 12th.
May 12th,
4 to 6. 4 to 6.
4 to 6, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. We'll be doing a release tomorrow with all that time and date, but that's the date. Of course, all council members will be invited. We'd love to have you there.
I'll be there for an hour.
That's fine. You'll be first to speak, so that'd be perfect.
Now, how do people donate to this? How can people donate?
Yes, the Women's Right to Run 19K. So they have a website,
Right to Run 19K.org.
right to run 19k.org. And I'll get one of our folks to put a particular tab on there so that you can donate directly to the Walk of Fame.
Thank you.
And in time, we'll have a place somewhere online that will have perhaps some nominations. And right now, we're honoring those that have passed, deceased women, so we don't have to go through some difficult situations. And it's easier to just pass away. So it's just-
Okay, thank you, Menzo, very much.
Thank you so much.
Rick,
Thank you.
That was our only registered petitioner. Is there any petitioners from the floor that would like to speak to the board? Okay. Continue with a couple other announcements. I've informed the board, but I'd like to inform the public. Very proud, very gratifying, as I mentioned. We worked very hard to try to secure money to pay for things. It was announced last week that we received from Governor Hochul's office approval for a $5.1 million zero-interest bond. If you know what interest rates are, these men will just laugh, but if you know what interest rates we're looking at. So zero-interest bond, which will be used to pay for the equalization tank. And we also received a $1.7 million grant that will go towards the equalization tank. So I'd like to thank MRB Group and B&L. We have a great team, and they do a lot of work, and congratulations to everybody on that. Next weekend is Earth Day. If you haven't heard, we're in conjunction with Seneca Housing and Seneca Meadows and the town of Seneca Falls. We're having what's called a swipe cycle event, April 22nd and 23rd. Basically, the swipe cycle event will allow Seneca Falls residents to give away usable but unwanted items to others instead of disposing of them into a landfill. Participation not only aids in waste reduction, but it's also a great cost saver during a time when so many of our residents are struggling to meet their basic needs. So how does it work? Seneca Falls residents place items curbside no earlier than 5 o'clock on Friday, April 21st. These items will be picked up by anyone who wishes to participate on Saturday, the 22nd and the 23rd. Unclaimed items will then be picked up by the town of Seneca Falls Highway Department on a designated bulk waste pickup day, which will be Monday, the 24th, and they will be disposed at Seneca Meadows free of charge to the town of Seneca Falls. So again, there's a list of things that you can't put out there, but these are usable things. They're not, broken, and There's a registry that you'll be able to go on. There's going to be a flyer coming your way to all, a mailer to all residents. You can go online and register. I have a coffee table. I have, you know, a light, a lamp. I have a sofa, whatever, you know, is usable. People can go on there, take a look, they can provide, pick it up, and off it goes. And whatever doesn't get picked up, then will be disposed at no charge to the residents. Okay? You can't put broken appliances. You can't put broken furniture, radioactive waste, industrial special waste. You can't put free liquids. Waste material with less than 20% solids. You can't put cans of paint out. Gas cylinders, tires, refrigeration units or AC units, no. Batteries, thermostats, no. Yard waste, no. Hazardous materials, no. Mattresses, no. Or any suspicious or unrecognizable materials. Okay? So, program that's will be next weekend. All right. I think that's all the announcements I had. So I believe we can, any from the board members, anybody needs to announce something or anything? Okay. With that, can I have a motion to approve the minutes from regular board meeting of March 4th, 2023?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? So carried. Old business, sale of town property, nothing is moving there, so we move to new business. Have a motion to approve special events.
I make the motion.
Thank you. And second, please.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on special events or any questions for Missy? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? So carried. We have communications from, in your board packet, minutes from the Heritage Preservation Commission, minutes from the Zoning Board, minutes from the Town Planning Board, and minutes from Seneca County Planning Board in your packet. So please take a look at those. Everybody received their board reports from our department people and from Lisa and from Rhonda. Anybody have any questions for our leaders?
I can't remember what it was for B&L. Gravel Road, wasn't really for B&L. I asked you to speak to Tyre.
I did, and between Beth Partee was out of town for a week, I was out of town for a week, but we are scheduled to meet next week.
Okay.
And something that she's interested in listening to, and possible, some type of an intermunicipal type of relationship.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, with that, we'll move into proposed local law, lot line adjustment. Pat, I'm going to turn that over to you.
Okay, so the board members should all have the packet with the State Environmental Quality Review Environmental Assessment Form. It's the bunch of papers stapled together. And what this is, it was put together by Sean Loeb from MRB, and this is the form that we use to conduct the seeker review for this adoption, amending the town subdivision regulations. If you go through this, this form directs the board to look at different areas of where there may be possible environmental impacts, and there are 18 of them. Yes, there are 18 different areas that direct the board to look into. Yeah. So the first being impact on land, and on down the list. Going through them all, there's not one area that has been identified where there would be a anything more than a small impact as a result of the board taking this action of amending its subdivision regulations. So, on each question, all 18 of them, the box for no is checked, indicating that the review by the engineer indicates that there would be either no or a small impact to the environment as a result of adopting this subdivision regulation amendment. Does anybody have any questions on any particular areas that are addressed? So the first is the impact on land, and 2 is impact on geological features, 3 is surface water, 4 is groundwater, 5 is flooding, 6, on down the list. But as I described earlier, this is a change to the town's subdivision regulations, ultimately to make these relatively small lot line adjustments to make it easier, make it easier for everybody, but particularly for the residents that are trying to do this.
I don't have any question, I just comment, we've said this before, anytime there's a local law, we have to go through this process. Seeker is a wonderful thing, it has application for many different things. I'm not quite sure what the application is here, but we're required to do it.
Yes, we are. So you have that packet. The first 10 pages have addressed the 18 areas, and then you come to the determination of significance. So the determination of, having gone through all 18 areas and not identifying any areas that would potentially have a moderate or large environmental impact, it would be appropriate to make a determination of significance that this would not have the potential for any negative environmental impact. That's known as a negative declaration. So after those 19 questions, you get to part 3. And part 3, there's a note that reads as follows, that the town of Seneca Falls Town Board has reviewed and accepted parts 1 and 2 of the full environmental assessment form for this action. The town board has been established as the lead agency under seeker for making the required determination of significance. In addition, the general public was made aware of the public review and comment period provided by the town board. No significant adverse environmental impacts were identified as a result of this review process. And then we have supporting documentation that this is all part of. So, if the board is satisfied that this action would not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts, there is a resolution that has been prepared for this board to take that action. Any questions so far?
Is there a limit to the size of the exchange of parcels here?
The limitations are that they would, you're not creating an additional lot, right? So there's no new lots being created. Each lot that is created would be suitable for development. So you're not going to make something that's too small, right? Say, something that doesn't have enough road frontage to be a buildable lot, something like that. So there's no limit in the sense that, we're thinking residential lots here, but also.
I know what the thought is, but
Yeah.
let's think outside the box.
Yeah.
I mean, if my neighbor's got, a little sliver that, is really, I've been using for years, and let's make it legal, I get that.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking bigger, say a farmer wants to simply give up 90% of his farm and keep his house in the one little corner of the parcel? Can he do it simply by,
As long as that, what's being split off is going straight to the neighbor and not creating a new lot. I don't think that, you would have, if you're out, 2 miles
Yeah,
that way,
yeah.
right? I don't see why not.
well,
As long as
because
you're-
when you review the seeker, I mean, seeker is, we think of state environmental quality,
Yep.
but that environment includes things like community character, and community plans. I mean, it isn't just about what we think of as the environment, the physical environment. And I'm wondering if these simple swaps, essentially, might get us in trouble when it comes to aspects of the community plans or the community character. And if it's just a little simple thing, right, it's not between two neighbors who both have maybe a quarter of an acre themselves and they just want to straighten out something. I get that, but if you can have some big land transfers essentially occur under this, there may be some implications of changes to the community character and into the community's plans. So, which are two sections, right? That's section 17 and 18 in the seeker.
So, I understand what you're saying. But what we're looking at here is you have changing lines on the map. If somebody is going to do something like that and then change the use and do something that's going to change it from agricultural use to something that isn't necessarily provided for under our code in the agricultural district, then
They got to jump through that hoop.
you got to jump through. There's going to be more hoops to jump through. So any commercial development is going to require site plan review, right? Anything that's not allowable in an agricultural zone may need a use variance or a special use permit. So I understand what you're saying, but so we're just talking about really lines on the map and hopefully trying to make things relatively easier.
Pat, I
If
have a
they're
question.
for larger projects, there's going to be more hoops to jump
But
through. that
sometimes
would ultimately-
things that are hard for a good reason. Like we want to make it easier, but sometimes there's reasons that we have the codes and regulations in place that we have today.
If we give a portion, say a small portion, to a neighbor,
Yeah.
and then I move, what happens then? I have a good relationship with my neighbor,
Yeah.
but someone who moves in may not. How does that affect the person?
Okay, well, once you go through this process and deed it to your neighbor, you no longer own it. So the next guy isn't buying that, right? You're doing it, the subdivision process is really the beginning of a real estate transfer. Okay, so if somebody comes through, they get their map stamped, they record their maps and all that, if there's no deed being transferred, then nothing actually happens. So this is part of a real estate transaction. So you're talking about good relations, bad relations. That's a good thing to think about because these deed transactions are permanent. This is the beginning of doing something permanent. So you don't have to rely on whether or not you get along with your neighbor. You're changing the lines, hopefully to memorialize what had been a good, neighborly relationship. And this is something that's going to go forward, until somebody changes it again.
All right.
Yeah.
What would be the involvement of the town code enforcement officer, Peter? And he would catch anything that was going to be out of the ordinary for that district, right?
So yeah. So anytime there's going to be a change in lot lines. Again, it will involve a real estate transfer. And anytime a part of a parcel is transferred or something like that, that is, the forms for New York State are designed to catch those sorts of things. So if somebody tries to transfer part of a parcel without doing this, that should be caught at the county clerk's office. You know, they don't always, it's not perfect, but that's the way it's supposed to work. So that in order to transfer part of a parcel, or in order to do something that's going to change the lot lines, you're supposed to get subdivision approval prior to going down to the county clerk's office to file the deed for that. So here, as long as it lines up with the requirements of these new amendments, as long as it's a simple lot line adjustment, not creating a new parcel, and the resulting parcels are large enough, and there's no existing buildings that are going to be too close to any lot lines, then Peter can approve it, and those maps would still need to be signed by the planning board chair, just as they are now. We're just removing the requirement of public hearings before the planning board, and which, again, takes about a month and a half to get everything squared away.
Still has to be surveyed.
Oh, so yeah, it still needs to be surveyed, still needs to have, I mean, when I say stamped maps, I mean survey maps
Yeah.
come, get stamped by our planning board chair, and those maps are then filed with the county clerk's office. So it's you know, it's still a fairly formal process. We're just trying to cut out the month and a half that otherwise would be required.
But you know, when you're talking about lot lines, I mean, who cares if it's a month and a half? I mean, that's, right, the lines aren't going anywhere. What's the imperative to try and save time there and,
Well, sometimes it's, well, actually, oftentimes it's before the next transfer happens. You know, something like that.
yeah, but not,
So-
I mean, not often. Well, first of all, this really doesn't come into play at a tremendous amount of times anyway.
Yeah, I mean, we've had, I don't know, about 2 or 3 in the past year,
Yeah.
thereabouts,
It's
you know. So it's not, but it is a,
it's not.
as we're going through our codes, try to find ways to make things simpler.
I just think it may have some, I'm just leery of it, to be honest with you. I mean, to me, you know, I say it a lot on the floor, if it's not fixed, or if it's not broke, don't fix it. And this seems like one of those things. We have a process that's been in place for years and years and years. It works. Maybe it takes a little bit longer time, but it seems to me that, I mean, I just get the feeling that this could,
There are many communities that do not have so many communities do not call every lot line change a subdivision. Many communities just remove that from the subdivision entirely.
What,
I would say,
local
I would say the majority of communities do not call every lot line change a
so local communities, Waterloo,
Oh, I believe,
Geneva.
I don't want to give you a specific town because I'm probably going to be wrong from my memory, but
Well, you said-
New York
you
State
said
law.
Ohio.
No, New York State law, there's a whole other subdivision requirement. New York State law looks at it from, in the environmental health circumstance, when you create, I believe it's more than 3 lots in 5 years, you're required to get subdivision approval from the environmental health department of the county, and they're looking at water, they're looking at septic, they're looking at things like that, make sure that these lots that are being created can all be suitable building lots. There are communities that say, okay, if it doesn't satisfy that, if you're not creating more than 3 lots within a 5-year, it's not a subdivision at all. And you know, that still happens. The town of Seneca Falls is a little more stringent right now, and in that any lot line change is a subdivision, is the public process, the public hearing, the planning board, the whole thing. So there's many communities that, you know, their way of simplifying things is they don't even have it considered a subdivision. And so we're not doing that, but we are trying to simplify the process, cut down on the time required for something that maybe but things that require, that are changes in uses, things that are commercial development, things like that, we still have all the regular
But
processes.
moving the line is the first step in changing the use of the property.
Could be.
And to be honest with you, if we didn't have a landfill in our town that was gobbling up, you know, land at a pretty ferocious rate over the past 20 years, I may not be as concerned, but I do have concern about that. So I'm uncomfortable with it. I think keeping it slow and having to jump through the hoops is a good thing.
Okay.
Well, I gotta ask Pat a question. Pat, you're our attorney. Do you feel there are enough safeguards with this, if something like Steve is talking about, that Mr. Purcelli or the head of the planning board or zoning board would catch, so there wouldn't be, you know, something that would be catastrophic to hurt the town?
Well, can you stop? The question is, I mean, if you put this in place, can you then say, oh, no, we aren't going to allow you two folks to just move the line simply. We're going to make you jump through some hoops. The answer probably is no. I mean, if you change the law, you change the law. Codes, you change the codes.
I don't know.
You can't then make them jump through hoops.
It's one, well, it depends on what you're doing. Again, if it's gonna be a change of use or some kind of development, then yes, there would be those.
That's an additional step.
those
I
are
get
already
that.
there.
But land acquisition is the first step.
All right, let me ask you this. If we're concerned with larger parcels, right, is there a particular size of a transfer that you'd be concerned with? That's where the red flag should be. Say,
Yeah,
something
I
like, I mean,
see.
if we're talking
I
about
would
2
be
miles that way.
I'd be very comfortable with this if you're talking about just residential lots, typical residential lots. You know, they range from like 1/4 of an acre to an acre, I would say, in this town,
Okay.
until you get out in the outskirts of farms. But, yeah, if neighbors want to exchange, but I could see where this could be, you know, if you have a big entity and it wants to gobble up land, it can do it rather quietly, just by gobbling up land and moving lines.
They then would have to get approval to.
They would,
Develop
yeah,
that.
I get that, but they got the first step, easily, and a little simple, so that's all. I'm just concerned, I think, you know, somebody should be concerned at this point. And I'm the guy that's usually concerned.
I'm always concerned.
I know,
I'm more concerned about the Cuban nation gobbling up land.
I am too. But,
Okay,
So, well,
and there you go, there's another example, yeah,
we don't even have to come in front of the
right.
zoning board or planning board or, you know,
yeah,
as they are ripping up the gas station down on Barrett Street and without any permit, without any,
Well, they brought in 20 loads of dirt today, at least.
any chance that dirt's contaminated, you think?
I don't know. I don't know where it came from.
I know where it's coming. It's coming from the big hole on the corner. And DC. All right, yeah, we all set with part 3?
well, not, well, I was just so that's where we left off.
Okay.
Okay, so you do have the resolution in front of you.
Yep.
That is, and this is strictly for the seeker. And the resolution would, and so last month the board designated itself as the lead agency. And what this would do, it would say that you've considered the seeker, the parts that we discussed, and then you make a finding that this action would not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts based on that seeker review. And then that would then be a negative declaration or determination of non-significance.
So I'm going to read the resolution for the seeker.
Well, before we do that, so if I have some concerns with 17 and 18 in the secret,
Okay?
I think there may be some small impacts.
Okay?
Does that change this, or does that,
Well, you would
or,
talk
or,
to,
or does that only come out when we vote here?
well, you could talk to your board now and see if there's any
Because I think
support
it-
for that. So if three of you want to change that determination, that designation, you can do that.
Because again, I think some of these, and granted, they're very gray, right, in how they get applied. But when you read some of these, I think some of them could. And I don't know the exact scenario, and I apologize. But, you know, and for the audience, what we're looking at is, like C, the proposed action may displace well, I'm not going to read that. The proposed action may interfere with the use or enjoyment of officially recognized or designated public resources. The proposed action is inconsistent with the predominant architectural scale of character. I mean, so it talks about character. The proposed action is inconsistent with the character of the existing natural landscape. And when you're talking about moving lines and somebody acquiring property, I just see that, you know, the implication is that property can change, you know, and what happens with it, especially big parcels. I'm talking about big stuff. You know, if the Browns and the Smiths want to exchange a tenth of an acre, I don't have any issue with that. I really don't. It's that there's no limits that I struggle with. You know, the proposed action is inconsistent with local land use or zoning regulations or county and regional use plans. Don't know how it would play out. Don't know what people who are exchanging properties, because essentially that's what this is allows kind of a quick exchange, don't know what their intent is. So I think that there could be some of these community characteristics being challenged by this local law. So I would say it could potentially have a small impact. That's what I'm saying.
For clarification, if I read the resolution and the majority of the board supports the resolution, or how does that go about it? I mean,
Well, yes, everything's a board action, and so it's the three of you to decides the action of the board.
Can you put a clause in there, like you're not allowed, you know, to give?
Well, I was actually, that's what I had asked Mr. Churchill earlier, that is there a threshold that you don't want to see this sort of thing be applied to? Say something along the lines of, if the property being transferred, because it's, you know, in my mind, you have a line being drawn, instead of being at an angle, we're going to straighten out that line, right? And so there's going to be a triangle at the top, triangle at the bottom. Say if the transfer of land encompasses more than, say, 2 acres, that then it would go to the regular process. Is that something?
I'd be comfortable with something like that.
Because we can certainly
Because
add that easily.
You said there's been
and-
3 in the past year. What did they look like?
Oh, let's see. So the main one that's sticking out in my head was, do you remember Dan or Peter? It was the family. It was an agricultural situation, and it was similar to what you described, where they were, I think, making a smaller lot around the house, and then taking the excess and putting it with the agricultural land, and then there was something was going to be done with the agricultural land, and that was, I don't want to say along County House, right along County House Road, and it was that sort of thing. But even still, I don't know that more than 2 acres were moved. You know, my point being, something like 2 acres, I think, would still allow these sorts of things that to make it more
It's
convenient.
going to cover everything in what would be described as the old village.
Absolutely, absolutely. But something like, okay, we're just gonna, take this over and make it, just not actually, just moving the lot lines and accumulating properties and properties. I think from what you're discussing, you're concerned with way more than 2 acres.
Yes.
So we could make an amendment on this local law to say this process would be limited to situations where 2 acres or less are
I'm
moved.
comfortable
I
with
am too.
That we could very easily make that amendment
I will-
without altering.
that. I'll offer that as an amendment, that we set that cap
And I'll
on
second it.
2 acres in this lot line adjustment.
I would say that amendment can be very easily made, and is, I think if we consider this review, having made that amendment, then we could complete the seeker review on that basis, and then
Yeah,
come time
and
to,
then, and great, and then
that's
the
fine.
secret review, I think, falls more in line with it. I'm not as
Yes.
concerned about 2 acres. I mean, your impact on community character is gonna be a lot, this minimal.
right.
So I made the amendment, we have a second.
Yeah,
Well,
second.
we haven't gotten to that part of we haven't gotten to that part of the resolution, right?
Well,
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
well, I mean,
Right,
so.
We haven't done the secret yet.
We haven't done the seeker yet, but we're talking about what the local law is. We have a proposed local law.
Right, but you got a resolution to adopt the local law.
Yes, yes,
right?
but,
So we would make an amendment to that, right?
right, but you're also doing the seeker now. I think it would be appropriate.
So you want me to add someplace 2 acres someplace in the secret review?
Not the secret review.
Nope.
no.
Okay,
I mean, you're
so I'm gonna
right.
do the secret
You're
review
right.
right
Just-
now.
we'll
You're
just-
right,
we'll
we gotta
just-
act
we'll
on the
just-
secret
we'll just call it-
first before we go to the
Yep.
resolution.
That's fine.
I'm gonna do the secret review now.
Yes.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right, so I have a resolution here, Town of Seneca Falls, Chapter 255, subdivision of
I
land.
make a motion, we adopt the seeker is
Can I have a second for that, please?
Second.
Any discussion to adopt the seeker as reviewed by Attorney
A
Morrell?
negative declaration.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? So carried. Vicki, you have to sign this, and you have to give it to Rhonda tonight.
So you've got the.
Okay, I now have a resolution here. Town of Seneca Falls, Chapter 255, subdivision of land, resolution amending Chapter 255, whereas the Seneca Falls Town Board did on April 11th, last amend the proposed Town of Seneca Falls subdivision of land, administrative lot adjustments prepared by MRV Group, whereas the town board believes that it would be advantageous to the town board to amend, whereas that the aforesaid proposal of local law was referred to Seneca County and town planning boards for review, whereas the Seneca County Planning Board at their March 8th board meeting
I make
approved
a
it.
motion, we adopt that.
The motion, can I have a second, please?
I'd like to, for
Yes.
I
discussion.
gotta have a second, please?
Second.
For discussion.
Thank you. And now, Steve, you want to make an amendment?
I'd like to offer an amendment, and I think it's probably as simple as where it says administrative lot line adjustments limited to lot sizes no greater than 2 acres.
I would say.
Or whatever you want. but-
Yeah. So I would just add, you could just say, as amended, to limit,
Lot
to
sizes no greater than.
limit property transfers to 2 acres.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, we have a motion and a second to amend the motion, or the resolution, I should say. Just further discussion on the amendment to the resolution? All in favor of the amendment to the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? So carried. All right. Without any further discussion on the resolution as amended, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? So carried.
That was easy.
There's two other announcements, real simple. And I know as much as people are frustrated with flooding and assessments, I know you're frustrated with our water department, not our water department, our
Billing department.
whatever you want to call it, building department, I guess. But so again, I'm just going to ask you to be patient. I'm not going to go into great detail. Some things I can't go into because they're personnel issues. We've had a turnover in that office that I can't get into. Okay, but we're working with a new software that was recommended by a previous employee. And shortly after that was installed, that previous employee left. Bad on my part, I'll take full responsibility on that one. Not that she left, but we got the new software. But anyway, it's been working. We're working on it, and we made an announcement that pretty soon you're going to be paying your bill at 5 Star Bank. Don't do that yet until you get a new bill in the mail, and it's going to look like this. It's going to be a full piece of paper, okay? This will give us an opportunity to give you more data, but it'll also give us, we can make announcements on there, and you'll be able to perforate the bottom part of it, and that'll get you mail into 5 Star or drop off to 5 Star, et cetera, et cetera.
Will we still have the ability to pay online?
That Dropbox will still be available, absolutely, okay? But anyway, when you get this in the mail versus the one we've always been getting all our lives, that's when it'll be announced that we're going there.
Mike, when
Please
you
be
get a
patient,
question,
it's happening, pardon?
when you get a
I
question.
just wanted to know if
Yeah.
it was still able to be paid online as well.
Yes.
Okay.
And the other thing is, for people like Dan and myself, who are hard of hearing, we secured a grant in conjunction with the court, from J-Court, and that grant will be used to install a PA system with actual, speakers in the ceiling. What a novel idea. Why the town spent $4 million in a building like this and didn't do that when they did it. But anyway, we'll be adding that feature, okay, with microphones, speakers, and such. So again, another grant we secured with the help of NRB. Okay? Okay. That's all the announcements for one day. All right, Peter, we'll give that back to you. I don't have a resolution. I have a motion here because I forgot to write the resolution. But I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Cheryl Spano to the Board of Appeals.
Zoning Board of Appeals.
No.
No, the assessment.
Board of Assessment Review, right? Thank you.
Yeah.
Make a motion to appoint Cheryl Spano to an opening in the Board of Assessment Review. Can I have a second for that, please?
I'll second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay. Rhonda, can I give this to you before I lose it?
Yes, please.
I have a resolution here to accept the resignation of Mason Hawker, whereas Mason Hawker was.
I make a motion, we accept this resignation.
Have a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? So carried. I have a resolution here to provisionally appoint Thomas Dyson to senior account clerk in the Water Sewer Department. Whereas this has been an open position for the Water Sewer Department since last resignation, whereas the Personnel Committee and the Town Manager conducted interviews with 4 potential candidates and re-interviewed 2. Be it further resolved that the Town Board of Seneca Falls approves Thomas Dyson as a senior account clerk.
I make a motion, we approve Thomas Dyson as a senior account clerk.
Can I have a second for that, please?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Dawn will not be able to vote on this. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. And let the record reflect that Dawn abstained. Tom, congratulations. Give him another week, and then if you have any problems or any concerns or something's messed up, call him. Okay?
He's great.
Welcome, Tom. Glad to be here.
We're good.
Good. I have a resolution to provide 25% matching funds as part of the local waterfront revitalization program, whereas the town of Seneca Falls received a $58,875 Environmental Protection Fund CFA 118577 grant, whereas the town matching portion of the grant is 25%, or $14,000.
So moved.
Thank you. A second, please.
I'll second it.
Thank you. This is another grant that we continue to try to go after. There's a committee being formed, once this is approved tonight, to start planning and working with a consultant, which this will be used for, to work with a consultant. And this is basically to enhance all of the waterfront areas of Seneca Falls, going from basically where the gazebo is down near the Episcopal Church, all the way down Fall Street and both the north and south side, down through the community center, and basically all the way down to the town line, going towards Suckerbrook, if you know where that is, type of thing. So it enhances all the waterfront, and this again is just a planning thing. This committee, working with a consultant, will start looking at what division of what we want this to be for Seneca Falls.
It'd be wonderful to hook up to the canal
Right.
trail,
Right.
ultimately to connect it to Seneca Lake and Geneva.
So, again, that would be obviously one vision, you know what I'm saying? But that's what it's for, and then, once we have a plan and a vision, then we go after more grant money to pay for it. That is, so, it's nothing but a good thing. Okay, so we have a motion and a second, no discussion, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? So carried. Resolution advertised for the position of,
Labor?
no, Nikki, we get the, I want to do Lewis's first before we go to labor. Where is that one?
You've accepted Mason's reservation.
Yeah, we accepted
Reservation,
it.
so that's getting taken.
Okay, but Lewis is in here?
Yeah, it's in there, it's in the last one.
Okay. Yeah, well,
You've accepted Mason.
Mason wasn't a laborer, so we have a motion to appoint Lewis, then there'll be, Lewis is the laborer.
It's the last one, probably.
Right
Yes.
here, number P.
The last one in the last one in the pile.
I'm sure it's here.
It is, way in the bottom.
It don't matter. I have a resolution appointing Lewis Archer to water sewer plant operator trainee, whereas the water sewer department has an opening due to one of the departments.
I make a motion that we appoint Lewis as the,
Have a second for that, please?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? So carried. I have a resolution advertised for the position of laborer, whereas due to the recent promotion, the water and sewer department needs to fill the open laborer position, whereas the town board will advertise for the open position, and now be it further resolved, the town board of Seneca Falls approves the advertising for laborer position in the water and
make a
sewer
motion
department.
we advertise for labor.
Thank you. Second, please.
Second.
Thank you. Again, so Lewis was a laborer. He now takes the position of Mason, and this person, whenever we hire somebody, this is not hiring a position, this is just to find a person and bring it to the board, then that would be a full. Joe, does that make the department full?
Yes.
Hopefully? Okay. All right, any, no questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? So carried. I have a resolution here, water bill adjustments for abnormal water usage. Whereas the town of Seneca Falls operates a municipal water and sewer utility, the residents of Seneca Falls are the primary users. The residents of Seneca Falls provide the funds necessary to operate. Whereas there are circumstances that are difficult to identify and beyond the control of residents that cause abnormally high readings that create additional expenses for residents. Whereas the town can, with limited effort and expense, remedy these items. Whereas the town board has
I make
established.
a motion that we give the town manager the authority to adjust water bills of less than 500.
Okay, have a second for that?
It doesn't say the town manager.
It
No, it
says
doesn't. I'm going to get to
subcommittee.
that, so.
Yeah, so we
It says
can't,
subcommittee.
Yep.
right, well,
So, yeah,
Okay, so,
I mean, but he's making a motion that
Right,
we do something
right,
that's
right.
not here.
so
I
Peter,
thought he was gonna do
subcommittee,
it.
can you,
The committee, composed of 2 board members that review the sewer and water departments, the F and G funds.
okay. So this committee, if there was a discrepancy with my water bill, it would go to this committee of 2 board members, yourself,
Yeah.
and the senior accountant clerk Dyson to be,
Yeah, so basically that's, if people have bills that are, for whatever reason abnormally high and they can't figure out what it is, and it's less than $500, the water clerk can identify those, we can pass them on, make a list once a month to the committee before this board meeting. You guys can approve them, you can put them in the packet. But, fundamentally, it costs the town pennies to produce water, and if your toilet's leaking and you didn't know it, it's costing you hundreds of dollars. And we should be able to, without resolutions, or have town residents use their leak credit, which is, really important for them to keep just in case there are thousands of dollars in leaks. So it's a protection, and it doesn't cost the town
I'm
anything.
totally confused because I thought that's what the new water meter project is supposed to remedy. So is this gonna remedy it, or is the water
might.
meter replacement?
It could, Steve, but that's.
Water meters are gonna, the new meters will let us know if there's an
It's
issue.
probably a year out before we get there.
So,
I don't know.
Pete, will
Prove that.
the
Quite a while ago.
The good news, the meters are here, the radios aren't.
and speak to someone, say my water
When they
bill
gonna
is
start?
high.
Yeah.
Can someone review it? Can I
Yeah.
come in? Can I,
Yeah.
you'll be able to do that. Or
Yeah.
reach out to one of us about their water bills?
Yeah, it's simply a way to serve
And
people
then
better.
we could bring it to the board
Yes.
and say,
Yes, ma'am.
But we're bringing it to the board now. The process right now is it comes to the board.
Through the leak credit.
Right.
But what we want to try to do for,
Oh, the water bill.
so we've had, every month, there are clients, town residents, that have bills that are $50, $100, $200 more than they usually are. Usually because a toilet was leaking for a week and they didn't know. And that becomes burdensome for people, and we don't want them to use their leak credit for that, because the leak credit's designed to protect them from thousands of dollars of water usage. If, a pipe breaks and they're gone. So this is simply a mechanism to help people that
So, and
had an
ultimately,
issue that solved itself.
Well, what are you gonna do though? I mean, so
Could it be
you're
like
just
a-
gonna say, okay, we're gonna take the $50 off, right? I mean, what are you actually gonna do?
What about like a
Okay,
fix
well,
it ticket?
So
We ask
ultimately-
you to
I
estimate.
mean, you're not gonna go check their toilets. So I guess I'm
No, we would
not
ask,
seeing the value.
we would ask them, did you have a plumber, is there leaks, have you checked that? And if they can verify that they have done that, and plumber found them, nothing, and.
You need a subcommittee for that? The
No,
person-
no,
you
we have-
already,
we
you
have a
always
standing
have a
board.
subcommittee for the water and sewer
Yeah.
department,
'Cause it's-
always.
Right.
So, and our town code provides that the town board can grant credits on the water and sewer account. What this resolution does is just delegate to the committee the ability to do that when it's less than $500. So, as it stands right now, we have, at the end of pretty much every meeting, every month, there's a list of water credits that somebody's asking for that is a part of a town board meeting and all that. Again, trying to make things a bit simpler when it involves less than $500. It's still with members of the town board that have the authority. This resolution is simply delegating it from the town board to the committee that deals most regularly with these water and sewer issues.
Okay,
if there was a resident that has had a problem with their water bill twice now, the last time they went out and again this time. So, I mean, for them, and it's been very high, and she's reached out to me twice now in regards to that. So I think the committee would be able to help her in that situation.
without using her water.
Without
bill,
using her
Right.
credit for something that,
which she wouldn't be able to come to the second time.
right.
Okay, we have a motion, a resolution on the board. We have a motion, I think, was motioned by Frank, seconded by Don, did you second?
Yes.
Yep. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? So carried.
Opposed. I oppose.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just don't, I mean, I think the problem we're having recently is we're billing incorrect.
No, that's not, that is not.
That's not the problem.
That is not the problem.
So what was the problem in
What's
this
part
one?
of it?
What would the subcommittee have determined with this lady?
Well,
And how much was her bill, how much greater was her bill than normal?
I'm
So
gonna
was it-
say
I-
it
I-
was like 480.
yeah, it
I
was-
mean, that's a guess, 480.
There are,
Wow.
there were at least five, there are at least, on any monthly basis, 5 or 6 customers who, it's not a reading problem, it's not a technology problem, it's something in their house used a bit more water than they usually do. It wasn't their fault, and it cost them a lot more money than it cost the town to produce. And so this is a way to help residents make their bills steadier. And you know, the one unfortunate part of me serving as water clerk is that I've learned a lot about the problems that the residents have that aren't technical, that are just, you know, things that we can do to make their lives easier.
Okay, we had a resolution with
It's done.
a motion and a second. It's been voted on.
It's been voted on.
It was passed 3-1.
We're gone. We're moving in.
Okay, have a resolution, employment start date to establish retirement eligibility for police officer, whereas the village is a operator of municipal police force, whereas the village of Seneca Falls was dissolved and members of the village police force became members of the newly created town of Seneca Falls Police Department, whereas the official start date of village employees will impact the benefit of employees, whereas there are conflicting records reporting regarding the start date for Sergeant Investigator Petroci in the records that were transferred, whereas Officer Petroci's start date with the village of Seneca Falls Police Department is noted in the retirement system as June 26, 1998,
I make a motion we adopt the resolution as stated.
to establish June 26, 1998 as his start date. Motion by Frank, have a second, please.
Second.
Any discussion?
It doesn't tell us what the discrepancy was, though, right? I mean, he really started, what, 2005?
No, it wasn't recorded, Steve, so we need to make sure that when he retires, like 10 years from now, that there's record of his start date.
Yeah. Well, but again, that's not what this says. It said there are conflicting records, but it doesn't tell us what the conflict is in here. And I think really, for us to make a decision, we should know what I'm just saying, I mean, if you're gonna write a resolution, put the information in. We'll make it to 1998, but it would be nice to know what the conflict was, if you're asking me to make a decision. You agree?
Yeah, I have and I'm not sure that I did.
I thought the village records couldn't be ascertained.
That's,
And
Either way, we're adopting a date that's with the New York State retirement system to be consistent with the state.
Okay.
yeah, that's his retirement date.
That's the official documentation from the state of New York
Yeah.
that he started June 26,
Right.
1998.
Right? I mean, you see my point. It says that there's a conflict, but it doesn't tell us what the conflict is.
Right.
I thought he started in 2005. Just saying.
He's making out pretty good. Anyway, we have a motion, motion by Frank, second by Don. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? So carried. I have a resolution here acknowledging that the court audit was completed and reviewed by the town board, whereas the State of New York Unified Court System requires the town to complete an audit for the town court under section 2019, and whereas the town board of Seneca
So
Falls,
moved.
thank you. I'm sorry, is that Steve?
Yes.
Thank you. Can I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
Thank you. This is a formality that we're required to do, and I also have to send in the actual audit. Any discussion or questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? So carried. Have a resolution here, repair of town Seneca Falls Archway, where the town of Seneca Falls Archway located on the top of Water Street Hill is greatly deteriorated, whereas the Seneca Falls Archway on Water Street is deteriorating, needs repairs, whereas the community center is budgeted in $7,585, $4.
So moved.
Thank you. And a
Second.
second, thank you. This is the same organization that Missy worked with last year on Academy Square, the Iron Fence, which did a great job. They did bond by the archway, it's a mess. Hopefully next month I'll be coming to the board asking to expend some funds from our highway department that to redo the sidewalk going up Water Street. It's a complete mess, it's uneven, there's bricks that are broken. It would be to repave, redo the sidewalk going up Water Street, from Bridge Street to Water Street, get rid of the bricks, and also I'll have a resolution that will repair the steps going from People's Park area up under and then onto Water Street through the archway. Those are a complete mess, the railing's falling off. I've had them looked at and they're safe enough for use, but they need repair. And also we're looking at fixing the steps on Elizabeth Cady Stanton Park across the street. So we're getting prices with Jeremy on all of those repairs. Our goal would be able to use what we have left over in CHIPS money from last year. So I'll be bringing that to you in May, hopefully, and we can get that work done for the summertime. Okay, who seconded the string? Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? So carried. Okay. I'm going to make a motion that we enter into our annual agreement with between the town of Seneca Falls and the Seneca Falls Community Little League, made on April 7th, 2023. Missy takes care of this. This is an ongoing thing. In your packet, you see the legal document agreement. Basically, they use it at no charge. They're responsible to keep it clean, pick up everything, and so forth and so on. Anything else I'm forgetting, Missy? Okay. So I make a motion that we enter an agreement with them. Should I have a second? Yep. Thank you. All in favor of entering the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? So carried. You want this now? It's got to be notarized, so you want to come up and get it from Nikki?
Yeah, so I'll have to
I'm going to put that in the pile, Nikki, okay? We're going to skip the purchase of the new Water Street pump station. We're going to skip that one, okay? We'll be coming back to you in May. The Water Street pump station bid was way over budget. So we're putting that on hold for the moment. Through the help of Leeson, we're going to buy the pump ourselves, and for about hopefully a little more than $100,000. And then we're going to combine the Water Street pump station project with either the Baird Street or the Kingdom Road pump station project, or
Just that one.
right, okay.
But the $100,000 is for the pumps as well as the valve ball that has the enclosures and the controls as well. So it's not just the pump.
So, well, we can lock into a price hopefully next month, buy the pump, hold on to it, and then when we put out the Kingdom Road pump station, we'll include that in the package. And that'll hopefully drive the price down. Okay? Okay. I wish that was full, then I would have sent. All right, I have a resolution here, New York State Child Passenger Safety Technology Conference, Whereas it's been requested by Investigator Denny to attend the 2023 Passenger Safety Technical Conference. Whereas New York Cal Passenger Safety Conference will allow Investigator Denny
So moved.
to move. Can I have
Can
a
we
second?
bundle these two together? We have two officers going to the same conference,
Yeah, they were
same money.
pricey.
I did two separate ones upstate just because.
Yeah, no, that's
of,
fine. We can certainly bundle.
We have a motion and a second for Officer Denny, or Investigator Denny, Officer Virgo, to attend the conference. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody
Who
opposed?
made the motion?
Steve made the motion, and I think Frank seconded it, but I don't know that.
He did, he did.
All right.
And, we've got,
We're doing the same thing.
Okay, same again.
can we go back to Al about buying the pump?
Yeah.
We didn't do a resolution to do it.
We're not buying the pump because we have to go out and do an RFP. We thought it was a sole provider and it's not, so we have to do an RFP, so we're burying that until next month, I hope.
All right. I thought the whole project, we were, all
I know.
right, gotcha. Sorry.
Okay, I have a resolution here, Axon body worn cameras, whereas new Axon body camera technology to result in the new Axon body camera 3 to be far more advanced and effective, whereas it's extremely important to the police department and the community in which it serves to be equipped with the latest body cameras. Now therefore be resolved has been determined upon reevaluation and review by the police chief and the public safety committee enter a new Axon body contract. Be it further resolved, the Santa Claus Police Department into a new contract with Axon Enterprise in the amount of $35,999 for the year 2023 and $10,136.51 for the following 4 years.
I make a motion, we get the body cameras.
Okay?
Yeah, and I think it's, the next, I think the next line is worth reading.
Yes.
That is
Okay.
being funded by a grant.
The 2023 payment will be paid using $36,000 DCJS body worn camera grant awarded to the police department in February 2023. Axon body camera payments have been budgeted line since 2007 to the police department maintenance department. Okay, Frank has made a motion.
I second.
Don seconded. Any questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? So carried. And a resolution appointing, there it is.
You did it, I told you.
There it is.
It's there.
We don't have to do that.
We don't, it's gone.
Okay.
It goes.
Do we? Pete, we have no water credits. What do we need a resolution for a subcommittee for?
Just because I didn't get to them.
Have a motion to pay the bills for the previous month?
I make the motion.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Who seconded?
Aye.
Aye.
Steve.
Steve seconded it.
Okay.
No executive session.
I wish I could say that. I make a motion that we enter an executive session for real property to discuss the proposed sale and lease of an acquisition under Public Officers Law, Section 105H. And I move that the board go into executive session to discuss the employment history of town personnel under Public Officers Law 105F. And I also would like to invite the town attorney for the entire executive session and Chief Snyder for the very first part of the executive session. Can I have a second for that, please?
Second.
Second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? We will not be coming out with action, okay? So you can cut that. Folks, thank you very much tonight for coming. Have a great evening.
Thank you.